Hello again. We are now on chapter 10. And I said the last chapter we've been doing history, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about Hugh Funkhouser. He's obviously the namesake of our company. Here's what Hugh looked like. It's kind of hard to believe, but when Hugh started this company in 1932, we were actually in a Great Depression. I know they talk about depressions today, but there was nothing like the Depression back in 1929 through 1933. People were literally jumping out of buildings in New York because the stock market crashed. So it was a pretty dismal time. A lot of businesses failed. And at the very time these businesses were failing, Hugh Funkhouser started this whole business. He was a one-man show. He drove the truck himself. He was what Texaco called a peddler. He peddled kerosene around to people. And kerosene back in those days wasn't used for heating. It was used for cooking stoves and lamps. Wasn't a lot of electricity around, hard to believe. But so Hugh would go down to Texaco's plant, which was on Kent Street, right here in Winchester. It was a rail terminal, and Texaco had big tanks there. Hugh would pull his one truck underneath the tanks, load kerosene, and literally peddle it throughout Winchester, knocking on doors, going down through Kent Street, Loudon Street, Braddock Street, and selling kerosene in small containers, often in 5-gallon cans, for people to use in their lamps and their stoves. He did that until he finally got enough volume that he decided he wanted to build a bulk plant, and he built a bulk plant out on Route 50 East, very close to where Perry Engineering is now. He had a couple bulk tanks there, and he would buy in larger quantities from Texaco, which gave him a better price. And then somewhere in the early 1950s, he moved the bulk plant to Paper Mill Road, which is where his office is to this day, right at the top of the hill before you come down to our Winchester office. Hugh built an office there and put some tanks behind that building. I've added on to that building 3 times since then. And then Texaco Incorporated, yes, the main company, it was actually called Texaco Oil Company back in those days, not Texaco. I've got an old fan that has the Texaco Oil Company bracket on it. Texaco built this plant we're in, and they salary operated in 1954. So these tanks were put in 1954, and Hugh operated up on the hill selling kerosene and then fuel oil, because coal and wood heat were kind of going out of interest. So he sold heating oil and lamp oil and cooking oil. He only had one employee at the time, Bob Castle. Well, after he got big time, he hired a second employee, Bob Castleman. And then the business continued to grow, and I told you the story about Castleman going to the Korean War and my dad working for him and then not being needed and worked for Texaco. Hugh actually lived in Stevens City. He lived along Interstate 81. His house was actually still there. Back in those days, there was no Interstate 81. I used to bike past his house. That road actually, the old road, not the new one, which wasn't there, was all dirt roads back in those days. Makes me sound old, which I am. Hugh had no children, so when he passed away in 1962, his wife survived him, and she put the business up for sale, and our family was able to take advantage of buying it. So Hugh, again, worked hard, partied hard, and grew the business from 1932. 30 years later, 1962, he passed away. So that's our heritage. We'll get back to the history next time. So thanks for being with us. Thanks for all your hard work, and we'll get back to Chapter 11 in the history next time. Thanks so much.